It's strange how life can shatter in a single moment. 1 minute, you think you know who you are, a husband, a father, a provider, and the next, you're standing in your own living room feeling like a stranger in your own home. That day, the day my son called another man Dad, was the day my world collapsed. But what came next, I could never have imagined. I wasn't prepared for the betrayal that would follow, not just from my wife, but from someone I had trusted with my life, my best friend. We've been inseparable since childhood, sharing everything from school lunches to secrets, from drunken nights to life advice. I would have bet everything I owned that he would never stab me in the back. But I learned the hard way. Sometimes the knife you never see coming is the one that cuts the deepest. It had been a normal Thursday. I'd been working late for weeks, trying to finish a big project at the office. My wife, Emily, had complained about it more than once, saying I was neglecting the family. I thought I was doing for them, for her and for our 6-year-old son, Liam. I wanted them to have everything I never had growing up. That afternoon, my boss let me leave work early. I decided I'd surprise Emily and Liam, maybe take them out for ice cream or a movie. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed a car I didn't recognize parked outside. I didn't think much of it at first. We had friends who visited sometimes. I quietly unlocked the door, wanted to sneak in and surprise them. The first thing I heard was laughter, Liam's laughter. It warmed my heart for a moment, until I heard the words that would replay in my head for weeks. I love you, Dad. My breath caught in my throat. I froze. That wasn't my voice he was talking to. I stepped into the living room, my heart pounding in my chest. Liam was sitting on the couch, his small arms wrapped around a man I couldn't fully see yet. The man's voice was low, gentle, almost too comfortable in my home. "Go away," Liam said when he noticed me. His eyes didn't light up like they usually did when he saw me. Instead, he frowned. "We have a new dad now." My knees felt weak. My hands were shaking. Before I could speak, before I could even process the words, the man turned his head and my stomach dropped. It was Daniel, my best friend, the same Daniel who had been my best man at my wedding, the man who had been Liam's godfather, the guy I trusted with every detail of my life. And there he was in my house with my wife, with my son, wearing the easy smile of someone who thought he belonged there. That was the moment I realized I hadn't just lost my wife. I hadn't just lost my son. I had lost the only friend I thought I could count on. I didn't know it then, but this was just the beginning of a nightmare. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to scream. Part of me wanted to walk away and never come back. But my legs moved on their own, carrying me further into the living room, each step feeling heavier than the last. Emily was standing by the doorway to the kitchen, her arms crossed, her face pale. She didn't look surprised to see me. No gasp, no startled reaction, just a blank expression, as if she'd been expecting me, and not in a good way. "Alex," she said, her voice cold, "you weren't supposed to be home yet." I ignored her. My eyes stayed locked on Daniel. He stood up slowly, like he had all the time in the world. His smile was gone now, replaced with something unreadable. "Daniel," I said, my voice low, "what the hell are you doing here?" Liam's little voice cut through the tension. "Dad, stop. You're scaring him." The word Dad twisted in my gut like a knife. He wasn't talking about me. He was talking about Daniel, my own son. The boy I'd held in my arms the moment he came into this world was looking at another man like he was his father. I forced myself to breathe. "I came to see my family," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "And I walk into this." Emily took a step forward, her chin lifted. "Alex, we need to talk. But not like this. Not in front of Liam." "No," I snapped. "We're going to talk right now." Daniel glanced at Emily before speaking, his tone irritatingly calm. "Maybe I should go." "You're not going anywhere," I said, my voice rising. "Not until I know exactly what's going on here." Liam's eyes darted between us, confusion and fear written across his face. I hated that he was here for this, but I also couldn't let the lies fester any longer. Emily sighed, rubbing her forehead. "Alex, Daniel, and we've been seeing each other for a while, The words hung in the air like poison. I felt my heart hammering in my chest. For a while, I repeated, my voice shaking. How long is a while? She hesitated, then looked away. About a year. A year. A year of smiles over dinner. A year of birthdays and anniversaries. A year of looking me in the eye and telling me she loved me, all while sneaking around with him. I turned to Daniel, my vision blurring with rage. You came to my house. You sat at my table. You held my son. And the whole time, Alex, I didn't plan for this to happen, Daniel interrupted, holding up his hands. Emily was lonely. You were always working. We connected. That was it. The excuse. The betrayal wrapped in self-pity. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the alternative was to break down right there in front of them. Connected, I repeated. That's what you call it? Sleeping with your best friend's wife. Liam started to cry. Stop yelling. I don't like this. My heart broke all over again. I crouched down in front of him, trying to meet his eyes. Buddy, I'm your dad. I will always be your dad, no matter what anyone says. But he wouldn't look at me. Instead, he clung to Daniel's leg. That was when I realized something that made my stomach turn. This wasn't the first time Liam had been around Daniel like this. My own son had been slowly taught, over months, that another man was his father figure. Emily stepped between us. Alex, you need to leave. This isn't good for Liam. I stood there for a moment, my mind a storm of anger, grief, and disbelief. I looked at my son, then at Daniel, then at Emily. My home suddenly felt alien to me, like I didn't belong here anymore. But I wasn't going to walk away quietly. No, I said finally, my voice low but firm. I'm not going anywhere. Not until I figure out how to fix this or destroy it. Daniel took a step toward me. Alex. I raised a hand. Don't say another word. The air in the room was heavy, and I could feel the storm building. I didn't know how this was going to end, but I knew one thing for certain. This visit wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The air in the room was suffocating. I could hear my own heartbeat, fast and uneven, like it was trying to keep up with my rage. My fists were clenched so tight my knuckles hurt. I wasn't sure if I wanted to punch Daniel, scream at Emily, or just collapse onto the floor. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. Maybe we should step outside, talk like adults. I stepped forward, closing the distance between us. Adults? Is that what you call this? Sneaking into my home and playing house with my wife and son. Liam's small voice trembled from behind Daniel. Stop being mean to him. That hurt more than any punch could. My son, my flesh and blood, was defending the man who had stolen everything from me. My throat burned. I wanted to explain it to him, to make him understand. But how do you tell a 6-year-old that the two people he trusts most have lied to him? Emily's voice cut in, sharp and impatient. Alex, you're making a scene. Just leave before this gets worse. I turned to her, stunned. Making a scene? This is my house, Emily, my marriage, my son, and you think I'm the problem? She crossed her arms, her eyes cold. You haven't really been here in months. You work, you sleep, and you expect us to just wait around. Daniel's been there for us. Her words hit like bullets. They were carefully aimed to wound, not kill, but deep enough to leave scars. I laughed bitterly. Right. I work to keep a roof over our heads, food on the table, clothes on your backs. But apparently that's not enough for you. Daniel finally stepped forward, putting himself between us. Alex, stop. You're upset. Upset, I said, my voice cracking. You have no idea. You were supposed to be my brother. We went through everything together. And this is what you do? You take my family. For a moment, his confident mask slipped. His jaw tightened. His eyes dropped. I didn't take them, Alex. You left them empty. That was it. The final spark that lit the fuse. I lunged forward, grabbing him by the collar, shoving him back toward the door. The wooden frame rattled from the impact. Liam screamed. Emily yelled my name. But all I could see was the face of a man I trusted more than anyone, and the betrayal etched into every line of it. You ever come near my son again, I growled through gritted teeth, and I swear I will make you regret it. Daniel didn't push back. He didn't hit me. He just looked at me, and I hated the way his eyes seemed to pity me. Emily grabbed my arm. Stop it. You're scaring Liam. I turned to see my son's tear-streaked face peeking out from behind her. My chest tightened. I wanted to comfort him, to tell him everything was going to be okay, but I couldn't lie. Not now. I released Daniel and stepped back, my hands shaking. Get out, I said, my voice hoarse. Daniel hesitated, glancing at Emily. She gave him a small nod, a silent agreement that said everything I didn't want to believe. He opened the door, but before stepping out, he turned to me. You can hate me all you want, Alex, but Liam needs stability. Think about what's best for him. I almost laughed. What's best for him? You think taking his father away is what's best? He didn't answer. He just stepped outside, and the door clicked shut behind him. The silence afterward was deafening. Emily stood there, arms crossed, her face unreadable. Liam wouldn't even look at me. I realized, in that moment, that getting Daniel out of the house was only the first battle. The real war, for my son, for the truth, for my own sanity, was only beginning. The house felt different after Daniel left. It wasn't quieter. It was heavier, like every wall had soaked up the poison of what had just happened. Emily stood there, leaning against the wall with her arms crossed, as if this whole disaster was nothing more than a minor inconvenience. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. We're going to talk now. No more dodging. No more pretending. Emily didn't flinch. Fine, but you need to be ready to hear it. I sank into the armchair across from her, my legs suddenly too weak to hold me up. Start from the beginning, every detail. She hesitated for the first time since I'd walked in. Her eyes darted toward the floor. It started about a year ago, maybe a little more. You were always at work. Alex. I felt alone. Daniel was there for me. He listened. I almost laughed. A harsh, humorless sound. So you just accidentally fell into bed with my best friend? That's your story. Her jaw tightened. You think I'm proud of this? You think I wanted to hurt you? Yes, I said without hesitation. Because you didn't stop. You had a choice every single day to tell me the truth, and you didn't. Her face hardened. And if I had told you, you would have left Liam. You would have left us. My blood boiled. Don't you dare use Liam as your excuse. You taught him to call another man Dad. You made him believe I'm not his father. Emily's eyes flickered, guilt flashing for just a second before it was replaced with something colder. Liam needed someone who was there. Alex, you were too busy chasing a paycheck. I stood up, pacing the room. You know why I was working so much? Because I wanted us to have more. A better house. A better future. I was killing myself at that job, so you wouldn't have to worry about bills or groceries. I was doing it for you. For him. She didn't respond. She just watched me, her face unreadable. That hurt even more. The indifference, the lack of remorse. I stopped pacing, fixing my eyes on her. How long has he been around Liam like that? How long have you been letting him think Daniel's his father? Her voice was low now, almost offensive. It wasn't planned. At first, Daniel was just helping out. Picking Liam up from school when you couldn't. Taking him to the park. They got close. And yes, I encouraged it. Because I thought maybe it was better for Liam to have someone consistent. My stomach turned. Someone consistent? Emily, I'm his father. I was always here. Even if I couldn't always be in the house, I was providing for him. That's what a father does. She stood now, stepping closer. No, Alex. Being a father is more than paying bills. It's being there. You weren't. I stared at her, trying to find the woman I married. The woman who once told me I was the love of her life. But all I saw was a stranger. I forced my voice to stay calm. So what now? You think Daniel's just going to take my place? You think I'm going to walk away, quietly? Her lips pressed into a thin line. I think you need to decide what's best for Liam. And maybe that means letting Daniel be in his life. The sheer audacity of it made my hands shake over my dead body. For a moment, Neither of us spoke. The only sound was a faint ticking of the clock in the kitchen. I could feel the weight of years pressing down on me. Every sacrifice I'd made, every missed dinner, every time I told myself it was worth it for the family. And now it all felt like a lie. Finally, I asked a question that had been clawing at my mind since I walked in. Was it just Daniel? Emily hesitated just long enough for the answer to hit me before she spoke. Yes, just him. I didn't know if I believed her. In fact, I was pretty sure I didn't. But something in me shifted right then. The shock and disbelief were gone, replaced with something colder, sharper. I realized I couldn't save this marriage. I couldn't undo what had been done. But I could fight for Liam, and I would. I looked her dead in the eye. You've made your choice. Now I'm making mine. Her voice softened slightly. Alex, please. No. I cut her off. We're done here. But this isn't over. Not for Liam. I'm not letting him grow up thinking I abandoned him. Her expression faltered for the first time all night. She didn't look defiant anymore. She looked nervous. And that told me everything I needed to know. The truth was out. The betrayal was real. And now it was war. I didn't plan to see Daniel again so soon. After that night, I figured he'd keep his distance. Give me time to calm down, maybe even feel some kind of remorse. But remorse isn't something a man like Daniel knows. It happened 2 days later. I was coming back from the grocery store when I saw his car parked in front of my house again. My pulse spiked instantly. I didn't even take the bags out of the trunk. I just walked straight up the path, my fists already clenching. The front door was wide open. Liam's laughter spilled out, and that sound, normally the one thing that could ease any bad day, only made my chest tighten. I stepped inside without knocking. Daniel was sitting on the couch, tossing a ball back and forth with Liam, like it was his house, like I was the visitor. What the hell are you doing here? I snapped. Daniel caught the ball mid-throw and slowly turned toward me. Relax, Alex. I'm just spending time with Liam. Spending time? I stepped closer, my voice low and dangerous. You're in my house with my son after I told you to stay the hell away. Emily emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. I asked him to come over. You weren't here, and Liam wanted to see him. My gaze darted between the two of them. You think you can just invite him and like nothing happened? Like you didn't blow this family apart. Emily's jaw tightened. I think Liam needs stability, and you storming in here every time Daniel's around isn't helping. Daniel stood now, moving between me and the couch, almost like he was shielding Liam from me. Alex, you're making this harder than it has to be. We can figure out a way to make this work for Liam. I felt my voice rise, the anger boiling over. You're not his father. You will never be his father. You're just a guy who couldn't keep his hands off my wife. Liam's small voice trembled from behind the couch. Stop yelling, Dad. That broke me for a split second. I looked at him, his little face pale and confused, and I realized how much damage this was doing to him. But before I could calm down, Daniel spoke again, and his words reignited the fire. Whether you like it or not, Alex, I am in his life now, and maybe in time he'll see who's really there for him. I stepped forward so fast he had to move back. Say that again. I dare you. Emily came between us, her hand on my chest. Enough. This isn't about you and Daniel. It's about Liam. I looked at her, shaking my head in disbelief. No, Emily, this is exactly about me and Daniel. Because you made him part of my son's life without my consent. Because you replaced me before I even knew I was gone. Daniel's voice was calmer now, but it carried a sharp edge. If you keep acting like this, Alex, you're going to push Liam away. And when that happens, don't blame me. That was it. I grabbed him by the shirt, yanking him forward so we were face to face. If you ever tell me how to be a father to my son again, I swear I'll make you regret it. Emily was yelling now, pulling at my arm, but I didn't move until I saw Liam's eyes, wide, frightened, on the verge of tears. My grip loosened. I let Daniel go, shoving him back. He smoothed out his shirt like nothing had happened. I'm leaving. But Alex, think about what I said. He walked toward the door, but before he stepped out, he looked over his shoulder. One way or another, I'm not going anywhere. The door shut behind him, and the silence that followed was deafening. Emily glared at me. You're only making things worse. If you keep this up, you're going to lose Liam completely. I turned to her, my voice low but steady. The only way I lose my son is if I stop fighting for him. And that's never going to happen. I didn't wait for her to respond. I went straight to my room, my mind already racing. This wasn't just about a broken marriage anymore. This was a battle for my son's future, and I was going to win it, no matter what it took. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, hearing the faint sound of Liam's breathing from down the hall. It should have been comforting, but now, even that was tainted. My own son didn't look at me the same way anymore. And the worst part? Emily was the one teaching him to see me differently. The woman I once trusted with my life had become the person I trusted least. I remembered our wedding day, the way she smiled at me under that veil, how she squeezed my hand when we said our vows. I thought those promises meant something. I thought "till death do us part" was real. But here I was, in the same house as her, and she might as well have been a stranger. In the morning, I went into the kitchen to make coffee. Emily was already there, leaning against the counter with her arms folded. She didn't look up from her phone. "Morning," I said flatly. "Morning," she replied, still scrolling. I took a deep breath. "We need to talk about Liam." That got her attention. She put the phone down. "What about him?" "I'm not going to let you replace me in his life," I said. "Whatever's going on between us, he's still my son. I'm still his father." Her expression didn't soften. "You're making this into a competition, Alex. It's not about you or Daniel. It's about Liam's happiness." I almost laughed. "You mean Daniel's happiness? Because as far as I can see, you've been letting him play daddy while I'm still living here." Her voice sharpened. "Maybe if you were actually here more before, this wouldn't have happened." I clenched my jaw. "So it's my fault you cheated?" She didn't answer right away, and that silence said more than words could. It hit me then she wasn't sorry. Not for what she'd done. Not for what she'd let Daniel do. Not even for what this was doing to Liam. She had convinced herself that I was the problem, and that made it easier for her to keep going. Trust wasn't just cracked anymore. It was dust. I finished my coffee in silence, my mind racing. If I couldn't trust Emily and Daniel was determined to stay in Liam's life, then the only option I had left was to protect my son, legally, emotionally, and physically. Because one thing was crystal clear now. I wasn't just losing my marriage. I was in danger of losing my son. The days after confrontation with Daniel blurred together, but not in the way time does when you're relaxed. This was the kind of blur that comes from living in constant tension, where every room in your own home feels like a battlefield. Emily and I barely spoke. When we did, it was short, clipped, and always about Liam, never about us. She moved through the house like I wasn't even there, and I did the same. It was as if we were two ghosts haunting the same space, both too stubborn to leave. Liam, though, he was different. He had a quietness about him now, like he was carrying a weight he didn't understand. I caught him more than once staring at me like he was trying to figure out if I was the real dad or if Daniel was. That cut deeper than anything Emily could say. One evening, I came home to find Liam drawing at the kitchen table. He didn't look up when I entered. "What are you making, buddy?" I asked, forcing a smile. He shrugged. "It's me and Mom and Daniel to park." It felt like someone had punched me in the chest. "What about me?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. "You weren't there," he said simply, as if it were just a fact. Not a choice made by someone else. I turned away before he could see my face. That was when I knew this wasn't just about my relationship with Emily. She was rewriting my son's memories in real time. The tension finally broke 3 nights later. Emily came into the living room while I was watching TV, her arms crossed. "We can't keep living like this, Alex," she said. I muted the TV. "No, we can't. So, why don't you tell me what you're planning?" She hesitated, then spoke. "I've been thinking about moving out with Liam, just until things settled down." My blood ran cold. "Over my dead body," I said. "You're not taking my son away from me." Her eyes narrowed. "You think you can stop me?" I stood, meeting her gaze. "Try it. I'll have a lawyer on the phone before you even pack his clothes." She shook her head. This is exactly why Liam needs Daniel. He needs calm, stability, not this constant fighting. I laughed bitterly. Stability? You mean replacing his father with a man who betrayed me? For the first time, she looked uncertain. Her confidence slipped just a little, and I knew she wasn't as sure about her choices as she pretended to be. But I also knew one thing. If she was talking about moving out, it meant she was testing my reaction, and that meant I had to be ready. That night, I sat at the dining table long after everyone else had gone to bed. The anger was still there, but it had shifted into something else. Focus. If Emily thought she could erase me from Liam's life, she was in for a fight she couldn't win. I opened my laptop and started searching for family lawyers. I didn't know how messy this was going to get, but I knew it was time to stop reacting and start acting, because this wasn't just aftermath anymore. This was the beginning of the war. The weeks that followed were a blur of meetings with lawyers, paperwork, and tense exchanges with Emily. Every interaction felt like a chess move, calculated, cautious, and exhausting. But underneath it all, I kept my focus on one thing. Liam. It wasn't easy. There were nights I went to bed wondering if I was doing the right thing. Lawyers talk about custody agreements and parenting schedules like they were just numbers on paper. But to me, they were lifelines. The difference between being a part of my son's life and being reduced to a visitor. One Saturday morning, during my scheduled time with Liam, I took him to the park. He was quiet at first, clinging to the monkey bars, his eyes darting toward other families. Finally, as we sat on the swings, he looked at me and asked, "Are you and Mom mad forever?" I swallowed hard. "We're not getting along right now, but that doesn't change how much I love you." He kicked his legs slowly, looking at the ground. "Daniel says he loves me too." The words hit, but they didn't break me like before. I'd come to understand something. I couldn't erase Daniel from Liam's mind overnight. What I could do was make sure Liam always knew where he came from and who had been there since day one. I leaned toward him. "It's okay if other people care about you, but you only have one dad, Liam. And that's me, no matter what." For the first time in weeks, he smiled, a small, uncertain smile, but real. "Okay, Dad." That moment didn't fix everything, but it planted a seed. And I knew that if I kept showing up, kept being steady, it would grow. The legal process dragged on, but eventually, Emily and I reached an agreement. I got joint custody, not everything I'd wanted, but enough to ensure I was a constant presence in Liam's life. Emily didn't look happy about it, but I didn't care. This wasn't about her anymore. When the papers were signed, I walked out of the courthouse into the cool afternoon air. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The wounds were still there, raw, deep, and far from healed, but I wasn't bleeding out anymore. Daniel was still in the picture, and maybe he always would be, but he wasn't my replacement. He wasn't Dad. That was my title, and I wasn't giving it up. As I drove home that day, the sun broke through the clouds. It wasn't the bright, blazing light of perfect ending. It was softer, cautious, like a promise of better days ahead. I didn't know what the future held for Emily, for Daniel, or even for Liam's understanding of all this. But I knew one thing for certain. I had fought for my son, and I would keep fighting for as long as I lived.